Welcome back to the City Current Radio Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're honored to be with our good friend, our City Current partner. He's Will Brown. He's the managing partner with the Benefits Group. And Will, how are you doing, buddy?
Man, I woke up this morning. Thanks for asking. So I'm doing wonderful. My wife still laughs at my jokes, and my kids still run to the door when they see me. So that's a good thing.
That is a good thing indeed. Well, you are a City Current partner. We appreciate
Yes.
your support and all you do to help us power the good. Let's go ahead and dive in. For listeners who aren't familiar with the Benefits Group, give us a little bit of context in terms of what you do and how you do it in terms of the magic.
Sure. The magic is that we help small to mid-sized businesses offer Fortune 500 benefits. We're good at what we do. We're small business owners as well, so we get it. And we treat each case differently. It's kind of like a puzzle piece to be solved, so we don't have a one-size-fits-all. And I think that's useful to business owners in all different aspects of their growth.
A big part of it, obviously, is the touch point, being able to be the consultant, the advisor, guide them on best practices and make sure that it's a customized approach. You also have the technology on the back end, which makes it extremely efficient. And we'll talk about why that's important, especially in an era where working from home is the new norm. Talk about technology on your end and some of the secret sauce.
You know, in today's environment, and even before this, we understand the world that business owners live in. So we try to streamline that process. For example, we don't necessarily have to show up at your spot to do business, right? Business owners want what? They want to know what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, how can I get to the outcome that I need, and I got to get back to doing what I do. So from the beginning, our intake forms, the way we collect information, all streamlined, all online, very easy forms that guide you through. That's seamless. Then we just kind of tell you, look, we need a census and we'll do the rest. After we get our quotes back, we'll jump on a Zoom, show you what you need to do. You pick the plans. And again, we do the rest. We even create templated emails for you to put out to your team. It's a little step, but it keeps you from having to do that. And then finally, we use a world-class HRIS system called Employee Navigator. We pay for it so that our clients can use it. And that helps them with onboarding, managing their employees, even pulling real-time payroll and benefit reports. So I say all that to say technology helps us to get into your cycle, not be really uninvasive, allow you to offer this world-class benefits, but we do all the heavy lifting. So,
and I think, as you mentioned, business owners, HR professionals, everyone, they're busy, they're occupied running their business. They just want it to work and they want it to be seamless. They want it integrated and they want to know that you've got their back in terms of being able to handle any challenge. And so I think making it easy, making it customized, but also too being there and being that advocate is a huge advantage.
We love doing it, and we know where they're at. That's why I say the benefit. We know our customer, we know the lane we fit in, and we know who we're dealing with. We work in that same environment where no day's ever the same. They're dealing with, payroll not going through, they're dealing with issues unforeseen in the economy, drivers not showing up, whatever it may be. So what we want to do is take all that load off of them as much as we can. Yeah.
So let's go and dive in, because you mentioned really giving small to medium-sized business owners the power of what the larger companies have. And one of those that the larger companies have is the power to kind of be involved in legislation in terms of seeing what's coming through the pipeline, being on the up and up and being kind of on the front phase of that. And when you look at the PPP and all of that, the larger companies had an advantage because they could take advantage of those first. And so when you talk about legislation that's kind of on the horizon, some of the trends, what are the major ones that you think small to medium-sized business owners really need to have their eye on? And I'm thinking things like obviously the ARP.
Yeah, the American Rescue Plan has a piece. So to answer your question, let me pause here and say that every small business owner, word to the wise, you need an HR professional or a local PEO. We know some that we work with closely that are watching you on these things. I have too many business owners that just decide to wing it. Okay. So here's a good example. The ARP is something that took COBRA legislation and said, hey, if you had an employee that was involuntarily either let go or a reduction in hours between April 1st and September 30th, guess what? They don't have to pay anything for their COBRA. Now, there's a couple other highlights. They can't have it offered to them anywhere else and so forth. But my point is, if you as a small business owner didn't know that, and you send somebody on their way and somebody gets, you sell a location or whatever, You're not aware of that. So even being able to use benefit calculations in your PPP calculations on the second round to get money, those are the things that we're aware of, or we have strategic partners. But I would say to you, business owners listening, don't wing it. There's too much that you have to be aware of in your widgets that you deal with. Don't be a Rambo when it comes to HR and employee related issues.
Coming out of COVID and the pandemic and everything that we're dealing with, what's maybe one other thing that has your attention, especially around a trend or legislation?
Trends. Two things I would say. First is that we all know that there's a much tighter labor market, right? I have more than ever, more people coming to me saying, I have the capacity. It's been an amazing year. There's more cash infusion. That's great, but they don't have the capacity. I see it in our peer advisory groups and other things. So I'll have a lot of logistics companies or technical trades, refrigeration, saying, hey, I had a surveying company. We had a guy leave, one of our best techs. They get snatched up by the big boys. And what did he need? He needed benefits. 7-man group. They didn't know they could offer benefits and offer it well. That's number one, right? The competition for the top level folks. Secondly, being aware that a lot of your folks that are working remotely may cross multi-state jurisdictions. So I have a company up in Pennsylvania that has folks in Ohio and West Virginia. So when they're looking at benefits, they have to have somebody that knows how to manipulate those different markets, because one kind of a narrow or a myopic perception may only lead you to satisfying the folks in Pennsylvania, for example, while at the dismay of West Virginia and Ohio. So anyway, understanding that, being aware of it.
I think that is something that when you look at some of the bigger trends in the HR space, I think that is a big one that businesses, especially the small to mid-sized businesses, need to be thinking about and planning for. So while they may not have workers that are working from other states, that's where everything is trending. And the ability, like you said, to be competitive in terms of the labor market, and knowing that employees now are saying, hey, if I'm going to come to work for you, I want to be able to work remotely, maybe not all the time, but part of the time. And so it's becoming something that is a prerequisite on the employee side that they are demanding. And so I think for companies, being proactive and having those conversations now, even if they may not have the force right now that's doing it, knowing that that's coming and that's where the trend is headed, I think is a really important piece of the equation. Dive in a little deeper on some of those questions, things that businesses need to be thinking about when it comes to crossing those state lines and offering benefits with employees who are working remotely.
Well, network, obviously, and even, each state has different departments of insurance. So products available. Is it a broad-based network, like a national network, or is it a hospital network? You'll go into a state like Pennsylvania, for example, and you might have a United Healthcare, but then you may have a local hospital system too. I think like a UPMC or something. And you'll see that in New York has its own guidelines. I mean, you have to be situs in New York to even for an insurance carrier to do business there. And they have all these disclosure requirements. So you don't have to be an expert. What you do have to do is have somebody, when you come to us, for example, and say, look, we have a bookkeeping company and they have folks that don't have to show up to work. They're based in Florida, but they have folks all over the country, right? They could do the same job, but when they're offering benefits, they need somebody aware that doesn't just say, we're going to put you a Blue Cross Blue Shield of Florida, because we know that Blue Cross is an association plan and each state has a different Blue Cross. I won't get into the weeds, just knowing that. And that's where we can come in and consult with you. We can answer those questions and, tell you what you got and what you may need.
You mentioned the example of a 7-person company not realizing that they can offer a robust benefits program. And all of a sudden they lose somebody because a larger business is offering a better benefits plan. What sort of suggestions, what sort of recommendations do you have for the small business owners and the entrepreneurs to kind of paint the picture of what they really can offer?
Great question. Thank you, Jeremy. Here's the thing. I gave you one thing that I want you small business owners listen up, take note of. That was what? The HR and somebody who knows the employee relations. Second thing is you can offer benefits as small as 2 people, 2 employees. Guess what? Under 50 employees, Jeremy, is what's called community rated. So here's what I mean. You're not going to pay more for being a smaller group. The rates are standardized, set by actuaries. So what I want you to take away is Yes, I can. I can offer it. I can offer the same group health benefits as a larger organization. And secondly, there's a lot of tax benefits that come in with that. And also, I'm going to legitimize my company, right? If I'm going to work for your company, Jeremy, and you're a 10-person marketing company, and I've got you against another smaller company, they offer coffee and donuts on Friday. That's the extent of their benefit plan. And they give me $2 towards the vending machine, and you offer a full suite of benefits. Well, then who am I coming with? Obviously, right? So that's where we can help out.
What are some of the different offerings? And I'm thinking in terms of if I'm rating them for a small business and looking at things like, obviously vision, dental, accident insurance, like all these different things, where
Oh,
do
yeah.
you kind of start pulling out and saying, okay, here's the basic building blocks, and then here are
Yes.
the other components that you either want to think about or automatically be, rolling out? Talk about some of the different kind of add-ons, if you will, that businesses need to be thinking about.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for that. That's something I don't even typically address, but always comes up. So everybody thinks major medical health insurance, and yes, that's a building block. However, there is a whole world out there, wonderful dental, vision, and we're creative. So we have stuff that will wow you in dental, which typically doesn't happen. Telemedicine, there's group products like group life and disability. But here's the answer to your question. Where I like to start, if it's a new group, we'll go with the basics. We'll do the medical, dental, vision, because people like it. Even if they don't get the medical, they may do the dental, and a telemedicine if it's not included in the plan. We'll start there. Why? Because we want to keep it simple. And no analysis paralysis. It's enough to digest a new group and get them onboarded. Then in subsequent years, or maybe in a mid-year enrollment, we can offer the supplementals, the disabilities. But to overwhelm somebody and have 52 choices in an enrollment schedule on a 7-man group is not really, they're like, this is nice, but it's overkill. So we don't do that. That's where we start. But you can, sky's the limit. There's so many creative things like employee loan programs that are no interest that help you with copays, deductibles. There's pet insurance. There's all kind of stuff. So
The list goes on and on and on.
absolutely.
Well, you mentioned already for small to mid-sized businesses, the power of it keeps you competitive. It allows you to attract and retain top talent.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the other major advantages when you look at, especially outsourcing this, from cost benefit analysis to obviously just being able to sleep well at night? What are some of the other major advantages that businesses and business owners need to be aware of?
So, I want to first go back to what you said about attracting and retaining talent. That's been used so much that it passes through like attract, retain talent, attract, retain talent. But that is paramount. Why? Because if a company hasn't computed, which they might not quantify their turnover cost, it's a real thing. And sometimes you can't quite put your finger on it, but know that there's different estimations on what it costs to turn an employee over. So if you have that revolving door because because what we alluded to before, legitimizing your company and making it seem like a company that I want to do business with and stay at. So it helps you attract and retain, yes, but it keeps them there and it gets you the kind of people you want, reduces turnover costs. But here's the other thing. You are the conduit as the employer. Let me tell you something. If you have an employee that you think you're doing a favor to because you're like, here's $200 to go buy something on the market, they have to go typically to the exchange, which is the high risk pool. I won't get into it. It's exorbitantly priced. Plus, here's the other thing. If they have to walk with 200, right, they have to make about 280 or something like that, 250 taxes taken out for them to walk with 200 because it's taxed. If you offer benefits, you're doing them a favor just by offering it because you're the conduit. Employer sponsored plans are typically much less expensive. They're pre-tax. So you, Jeremy, are buying with a heavier dollar. But by the way, employer, for your good deed, guess what you get? You also get to deduct your employer taxes, which is your FICA, your FUTA, SUTA. So here's a quick example. I have a 10-man group. Let's say my 10 employees enroll and they spend an average of $400 a month. Some of them have dependents, some get dental and vision. We'll leave it at that. Okay. So those $400 a month, 10 people, $4,000 a month, that's $48,000 a year. That's not hitting payroll. So I don't have to pay matching FICA, FUTA, SUTA. And one more thing, Jeremy, my workers' comp, which is based on payroll, has now been reduced, right? Because if I reduce my payroll by 48 grand. So there's other benefits. Just remember, you're the conduit, you're doing them a favor, and you get some tax benefits and keep good people. I don't see why you wouldn't offer it, honestly.
You mentioned telemedicine. What's maybe one other either supplemental piece or just kind of a trend or something that you think is kind of a hot new item that business owners need to be thinking about, HR managers need to be thinking, just have it on their radar screen. And obviously telemedicine, when you look at the power of what it is and what it's become, that is a huge opportunity to leverage technology. And obviously during the pandemic, huge opportunity. But what's maybe one other thing that you it's got your personal attention?
Yeah. Well, there's two quick things. One is more, I would say more useful now, and that is limited benefit copay plans. The quick synopsis is this: instead of offering that 32-year-old single employee the full buffet when they never even eat off of it and they never use it, but we know they need something, the carriers offer something that's a defined benefit. So how can I keep costs low? If I know that I'm going to give you X amount of visits and X amount of copay per year, you get full coverage, but I've just defined the limits. And that way you have something that you may never use, but I'm charging you for that slice of the pie instead of you buying the whole pie. That's the best metaphor I can use. Secondly, something called direct primary care. It's still evolving, but I'd be on the lookout for it. We'll see if it takes off. It's basically an effort to buy outside of a plan. There's now aggregators that take providers and put them in this direct primary care relationship where it says, okay, Jeremy, for $50 a month, you're going to pay almost like a membership, and you can go to this doctor and you can get all your visits, and it's negotiated. You can get 2 lab works done and 2 blood. So it's an attempt to define, again, the problem is we have this Wild West show out there, and I won't get into the problems. We all know them. But if I can define, okay, this is an amount, it's a predictable revenue stream. This is the doctor I go to. This is what I get. I've placed you back in the consumer role. Right now, you, even as the insured, aren't really the consumer. And again, I won't get into that, but direct primary care in some larger markets we're seeing, and it can go as far as negotiating with hospital systems, surgeries and stuff. So I'm watching that very closely.
Yeah, I tell you, you're always a wealth of information, and especially just to be knowledgeable about what's going on, but obviously too, just even where things are headed. So go ahead and wrap up with your website, contact information, phone number, email. Where does everyone go to reach out and get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So the website is thebenefits, that's plural, .group. There's no .com, it's thebenefits.group. Group is the extension. 615-250-3334. That's 250-3334, or will@benefits.place. And you will get a smiley face emoticon when I reply. Put it on all of it. My friends still make fun of me, but that's just how I agree. I laugh at my own jokes. So you're getting a smiley emoticon.
Well, Will Brown, managing partner of the Benefits Group, thank you for all you do. Thank you for coming on the show. Greatly appreciate it. And we'll see you again soon.
Thank you, man. Bye, Jeremy.